All right, hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Talkin Investing. You're here with Tom and George. We're here to talk about all things Bitcoin, all things Bitcoin miners, all things AI, and everything that's going on in the market, including the jobs report. So we got a lot ahead today. George, what's happening?
Living a good life, Tom.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. A good life. Not great.
Just good.
All right.
Did everybody think that the pump was on with that little pump that we got the other day?
Yeah, did we get faked out? What's going on? So I will show.
Faked out.
We're going to look at Bitcoin, but I do, the thumbnail for this talked about a trade that everybody's missing. And you guys that have been here all along probably know what it is. Or you might be surprised. I'm going to show you. This year has been unbelievable. We're only 9 days into this year, and it has been a spectacular year, and it doesn't feel like it. And this is the masterful nature in which big money manipulates little money. I would suffice to say most people feel like they're losing right now when every single Bitcoin miner stock is up, and most of them are up big this year. Now, I know you can look at longer time frames and et cetera, et cetera. So, we judge things daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, year over year. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this. But what I'm saying is I think we've turned a corner and nobody's noticed. Now, as for Bitcoin, that's a horse of a different color. So we seem to be on the edge.
All right.
And just don't know which way we're going. So we'll talk about that for sure. Sour Melon Gaming, thank you. Government 100% will shut down longer than last. Prepare.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can't say that I doubt that. That feels like it's inevitable. Commercial break. Can you guys please smash the like button? Do us a favor. Hit the like button. Hit the thumbs up button. Let's get some people over here. Let's talk about this thing. So the government shutdown, there's 5 or 6 things that are going to happen this year. And unless something that I can't even imagine occurs, Sour Melon Gaming is right. We seem to be on a collision course with a government shutdown in 3 weeks. So there's going to be a period where that's going to be the big news. And the last shutdown that we just had in October was the longest shutdown in U.S. history. And I'm looking at this one going, is this one going to be worse? And what does it mean? What does it mean for our stocks? What does it mean for cryptocurrency? Well, it's one of those things. This is a part of due diligence. It's one of those things that has to be, you have to have a plan, or at least understand there's a high probability of a government shutdown. We'll do a super quick poll because to me, this is a no-brainer, but let's see, maybe I'll be surprised.
I think, I can't say that. I think that, yeah, there's possibility of a government shutdown. I think it's going to get hijacked. How about that one?
Typing this in. All right, so let's see what's what. Let's see what people think. I'm just going yes or no for now. We're going to dig deeper on this because obviously it's a big issue. Will the government have a shutdown at the end of January? That's when the clock runs out. So they either need to take action between now and then in a bipartisan way, which just seems like I'm an optimist about a lot of things, but it just seems like bipartisanship is gone, like forever.
Oh yeah, there's no such thing anymore
until further notice. And that's not good, right? Because I believe most people have the same core top 10 list of things that are important to them in their daily lives, and they may not all be in the same order. And obviously everybody has their own opinions, but this thing where it's like you're either here or there, it is wildly unproductive. And it doesn't seem to be getting any better. If anything, it seems to be getting worse, which is, let's see. I'll remain an optimist, but at the moment, we are not in a bipartisan way. And them doing something between now and the end of January to stave off this government shutdown seems incredibly unlikely to me. And actually, so far, this poll is pretty optimistic versus my thought process. So if you're on a device where you can vote. All right. If you're on a device where you can hit the like button, do us a giant favor, smash the like button. We're going for 100 likes. My screen doesn't show me how many likes we have anymore.
It's funny. I can't even find the stream.
It's like they're hiding us.
There we go.
Gambit Beer. So this is from Gambit Beer. Thank you, Gambit Beer, for the super chat. What happens if the Supreme Court bans tariffs? So here's another one. Today was the first opportunity for the Supreme Court to give a decision on the legality of all these tariffs. They did not do so today. Next Wednesday is going to be another decision day for the Supreme Court. So they announce decision days. They don't tell you what things they're deciding on. They could push this. They could kick this can down the road, indefinitely. So I don't know what the answer is. I find it hard to believe that they're going to rule that these tariffs are illegal. And my personal opinion, so maybe we'll do a poll on this next. My personal opinion is the president has always had the power of tariffs. And if it's taken away, by the Supreme Court, then I think the U.S. economy is in a big, deep problem.
Tom, I would say the American people are in a big, big problem.
That's right.
I mean, that would fundamentally change everything.
It would be a game changer, and we'll get to this. Is getting closer and closer, this poll, so I want to leave that up for a while.
Dude,
but
I never even thought that they could do that for a second. And if that's like, that's like end of the United States problem if they do that. I don't know if you realize how big that would be.
It's the biggest decision from a fiscal standpoint, maybe that they will have ever made. They've made a lot of big social decisions, right? The Supreme Court has done a lot of big things in its history. You hope for bipartisanship there, but how many times do you see 5-4, 6-3? That's, discouraging in and of itself. We do get some 9-0 verdicts out of the Supreme Court. So, when it's 9-0, that means it transcends even those who are ultimately political. There's just no debating. Didn't even belong going there. That means a lower court made an egregious decision. So for me, I'm hoping that they, allow business as usual on that, because I do think that would be very bad news. Now, what would it mean for Bitcoin? I don't know what the answer to that is. I just think bad news is bad news.
I actually think bad news should be good news for Bitcoin.
It should be, but isn't it always work out that bad news is bad news, even though it should be good news? Now, at some point, maybe is Bitcoin going to shift? Is it going to catch up to the gold trade? Is it going to catch up to the silver trade? We're going to look at silver and gold later because they're doing things they've never done before. And Bitcoin should be doing the same thing. It's fundamentally the same, particularly as gold. You know, you could argue silver is different. And in fact, you know, you could argue
silver is a true commodity. Yeah,
right. It's a true commodity. It has most of the silver's used. It has a use case. Yes, some of it goes to jewelry and that kind of stuff. But there's not a Fort Knox of bars of silver somewhere. That's not how silver works.
There should be.
Maybe there should be. That's right.
You know, I called another double on silver right for this year,
and that will be unbelievable. You want to look at the silver chart right now while people are
might as well, yeah.
Let's get. Do you have how many likes we have, George? Because
I have 17.
17 likes. This is madness.
24.
If you can do us a favor and hit the like button, it does make a big difference because our stream doesn't get out anywhere anymore. So the more people engage and press the like button, I hate to harp on it, but it makes a big difference. I'm leaving this poll up just a little while longer. Will the U.S. have a government shutdown at the end of January? Because I'm very surprised by that poll. And then I want to put up a poll on the tariff situation because these are some major, major things coming at us in a short, but in all likelihood, we're going to know the answer to both of those questions by the end of January. So, like, this is not some theoretical, far out there, you know, thing that may or may not one day happen. It's here. So let's go straight to, I want to get to this earlier in the program, and then we're going to talk a lot more about it. But I want to show you guys what the Bitcoin mining AI stocks have done so far year to date. I gotta think of a better Bitcoin mining data center. How do you feel about that, George? All right.
Can you kid Tom and his hose or no?
Huh?
Nothing.
See, Sour Melon Gaming said I had to dig real deep to find this stream today. I don't know why they're burying us. I will tell you, we've talked a little bit, just a little bit more openly on the stream. And the more we do so, like, they got a list of words. And if you say them, they just start disappearing your stream. It's just the way it is. But you know what? We're just going to say them anyway. So help us out by smashing the like button and we can get some people here and talk about it. And you know what? If people don't show up, then they don't get to see what we're talking about. So, and I thank everybody that does find their way here because I know, you know, they're not really pushing the stream. So it's much appreciated to those of you who are here. Let's go look at what the Bitcoin miner / data center stocks are doing. I'm locking that term in officially for 2026. These are no longer the Bitcoin mining stocks. They're the Bitcoin mining data center stocks. Okay. This is this week. So Bitcoin's up 1% this week. Not much of a move. You know, it had a big run up. And then, thank you, by the way, Sour Melon Gaming, for the super chat. It had a big run up and it pulled back. But here, if you look at the Bitcoin mining stocks, they had a good week. I mean, HUT was on fire, up 17%. For Bitcoin to be up 1%, HUT's up 17%. Hive, George, your sleeper pick of the
year,
decade, really.
Yeah.
If it does what you want it to do.
What is it up?
Up 14%.
You know, it's so sad. I haven't even looked.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm so confident in my picks. I don't even care anymore. I don't care what happens today or tomorrow or next week because I'm not even trading it like that anymore. I can't look at it. You know what I mean?
That is good. I believe that's the best thing you can do for yourself, unless you are actively swing trading, or day trading. If you're just accumulating, then do yourself a favor. I don't know what this means, but from Dave, this is a good brand positioning. You're saying switching, maybe he's talking about switching to Bitcoin / data center. Let me know if that's what you're talking about, Dave.
I think so.
And thanks for the comment.
We can get the channel bigger is by bringing other people in from other platforms. And I don't feel like growing, YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Sour Melon Gaming said the size of the channel and stream is perfect in my opinion, but I know how hard these guys work, and it's not fair in that perspective to them. So, hey, listen, we're going to hear. Thank you, Sour Melon Gaming. I know you guys appreciate it, and particularly to the members, we appreciate you as well, and to everybody that shows up. This is, I think we have a great conversation every week. I'm biased, obviously, but that's what we're doing. And we're going to talk about it. And there's a lot to talk about in this space, and it's only going to get bigger. And
but Tom, I think what they're telling us is that this is going to be the year that, crypto becomes more prevalent in the United States, at least.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think the adoption is real, and I've got some articles that talk about what big money is projecting for this year. Not even necessarily price target, but just infrastructure talk. Dave's saying Bitcoin high-speed data center. Yes, yes, yes. Do not give up on the miners. Thank you, Dave, for the clarification. And yeah, I agree. I mean, these are still Bitcoin miners, and that is going to matter. It seems like it doesn't matter because the Bitcoin economics are not great at the moment, at hanging out at 90,000-ish. But you know what? I think it's going to be a big year for Bitcoin. Later we'll do the poll. There's a lot of people, and I have an article. I have an article that talks about how, this is lining up with a crypto winner, and it's got to be it's so incoherent. It's got to be AI generated because we'll go through it and I'll show you what I mean. But I don't think we're headed in a crypto winter. I think we just had a crypto bear market, and it may last a little while longer. We're either in the middle of it or nearing the end of it, in my opinion. And yes, I know we just hit our all-time high, 3 months ago. But that happened over a 4 or 5 month period of time. And really over the last 7, 8 months, we're very, very sideways. And I think and from the peak to the bottom, we had a 36% pullback. And I feel like that was the bear market. I don't think there's any more crypto winners. But could the bear market last longer? Absolutely.
Tom, just we're at 42 likes.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. If you haven't smashed the like button, hit the like button. It does help out. Much appreciated. So this is week to date. I want to go year to date because remember, they're almost the same thing. All I'm doing is adding 2 days to go year to date. Today is January 9th. That's 9 days, 2 of which were weekend days, 1 of which was a holiday where we didn't trade. So this is the absolute beginning of the year. And if you look year to date, this is what's going on with this group of stocks. They're on fire. They're absolutely on fire. HUT is up 31%. IREN, which was the winner in 2025 by a mile, is up 21% already 9 days into 2026. RIOT up 21%. And I want to do something real quick before I continue with these numbers. Maybe it's not going to. I don't think it's going to let me get to the very first. The very first chat on here was in all capitals, abandon all hope. So it's not letting me go back that far to look at it, but maybe you guys are able to. And that, I think, sums up a lot of the feeling. And then, somebody, let me find it. Somebody said, CleanSpark and Marathon are just way down this year, and it's just like 2025 was. But here, look, this is this year. CleanSpark's up 15% in 9 days. Marathon's up 14% in 9 days. This year is starting out. Now, it's super early. We have almost the entire year left. So I'm not saying extrapolate this out and everything's going to be up 10,000%. But I'm saying, if on December 31st, if you said, what do you hope out of the first 2 weeks? And somebody said, well, you're going to have 15 to 20% moves to the upside. I think everyone would have been like, great. That's a huge win. So the only lagger, Bitcoin's up 3% and BitDeer is up 3%. BitDeer was the loser on the year last year. We'll just take a look at that really quickly. BitDeer down 48% last year. Marathon down 46% last year. On a 2-year basis, if you go from January 1st, 2024 until now, Marathon is in absolute dead last place. And it's not even close, because while BitDeer was down 48% in 2025, it was up 120% in 2024, while Marathon was down 29%. So that over that 2-year period, Marathon's in last. It's not close. But this year, they're up 14% so far in 9 days. I think they'll make their move sometime this year. That's my opinion. Not a popular opinion, I'll tell you that. People do not like Marathon. And
well, I think if you got to wait for something for 2 years, that's rough.
Well, it is.
I mean, I had to sell it because I needed the money. I mean, I waited freaking 2 years.
To those of you who don't like Marathon because you held it all of 2024 and it went down, and then you held it again all of 2025 and it went down, you're right. I get it. It's been a horrible stock the last 2 years. So you're right, George.
I just think it's the game that they play that I just think it became more political than we realized. And 2, it's just the game that they play.
This is why I stayed diversified, because while my Marathon was crashing, I've been, as late as the last week of December, I dollar cost averaged into Marathon. Now, I'm never going to buy any more IREN ever again. They may be the best company out of all of these, but I'm up so astronomically on IREN, I'm not putting any more. It's my biggest position in my portfolio by a lot, and that's only because it's gone up so dramatically. So, I think there's a profit-taking cycle that some of these are going to be running into, while others are just starting or are just in the middle of their run-up. So, if played correctly, this could work, in everybody's favor. But it takes incredible patience. This is incredible volatility, because the one thing about every stock being up 15 to 20% in 9 days is that's massive volatility, because, you're going to have plenty of times this year where there's a 9-day period where that's all red activity instead of green, right? This is the home of volatility. Just, that's not going to change, in my opinion. So let's end this. This got really close. Will the U.S. government shut down at the end of January? Only 64% of people said yes. So I expected that to be over 90%. So that's very close. 36% of you are optimists. You believe, no, we will avoid a government shutdown. The government is set to shut down at the end of January unless they do something about it. But we got 36% that say, yeah, we're going to avoid that. I hope you're right. That's a much better case scenario than going into some month or months long unknown again. So let's get to the next one.
I have a theory about that, but please, if you guys aren't members and you think that we know what we're talking about, you should become members. Because I won't even say what I believe is going to really happen. And let's just say people don't waste a good crisis. I hope that makes sense.
No, that's right. That let no crisis go to waste. That's the. All right, I'm going to get another poll up.
You gonna make it then?
Okay, here. No, I just. Will the Supreme Court allow the tariffs to continue? So they did not give us their decision on that today. Today was a decision day for the Supreme Court. They did issue decisions. That wasn't one of them. Next Wednesday is a decision day for the Supreme Court. They're going to issue decisions. They don't tell you which ones they're going to issue. So it could be as early as next Wednesday that we find out about the tariff issue. So are they going to deem these legal or illegal, effectively? And to me, the ramifications of that cannot be overstated.
I didn't even think about it because you're right. I mean, that's basically Trump's, what would you call it? Ace in the hole, so to speak.
It's been a negotiating chip that goes far beyond just the tariff portion of it. It's one of the tools a president has to negotiate with other nations on a wide variety of matters. So if you take that tool, that's the hammer. If you take the hammer out of the toolbox, your toolbox sucks. Pardon my French. But that's what they would be doing. All right. So this is year to date. I mean, it's just going well so far. Now, we'll go back to the Bitcoin. I'm going to look at the 1-day chart. I mean, this is the definition of going sideways. This goes back to the middle of November. Now, we bottomed out on November 21st. But we have been consolidating, right? That's some sideways stuff going on there. Technically, inside of this, we did hit a low right here. That held. We never got back to it. We found some support right here at this $85,000 line. I think that was important. We found resistance right here at this purple 93,495, right? So that was a little resistance, and that's okay to find resistance. The key is at what point. I mean, we found resistance here, again here. This time we did have, for the first time, we did have a daily candle close above this purple line, but it was super, super close. And then we retraced right below it. Maybe we retest this green line and bounce off of it and head up, or maybe we got to go bounce off of, maybe we are stuck in this range and we bounce off of 85,000 again. Who knows? Maybe we even have a day or a week where, we spike down and retest 80,000 again. I don't think those are off the table. I just think I don't care if that's what happens in the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and everybody cares. But as long as Bitcoin does what I think it's going to do in the first half of 2026 and then the second half of 2026. So I have expectations for both halves of 2026, and they're both positive, but that doesn't mean anything over the next 1 day, 1 week, or 1 month, especially when there's things looming like a government shutdown that could just derail what we're doing. This is an equally close vote, so cast your vote. There's a lot of people that think they're going to overturn these tariffs. Well, I got another poll in mind after this because we got to talk. If they do that, that's something we're going to be talking about for a long time.
I would honestly say that's probably the end of the country as we know it.
I was going to say everything else we talk about will become insignificant if they do that. So we'll see. It's on the table, right? It's a case that they have that they're going to make a decision on. So you can't say it can't happen.
I mean, but I would say that, never mind. It just would really suck.
Gambit Beer said he'll just ignore the Supreme Court. He's definitely not going to pay back the tariff. So I will agree with this. We're not paying back the tariffs. What's done is done. This is not going to be a retroactive situation.
No.
You're 100% right about that. But what happens going forward? Let's wait and see. Trump wants to increase military budget by 50%. That would be another $500 billion on top of the trillion we're spending. Should we all be buying Palantir or bomb shelters? My problem with Palantir is I missed the boat.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like Palantir snuck up on us. Everybody talked about Palantir. We talked about it. We did a deep dive on it. I just didn't buy any because it seemed like it was overpriced. But it's another one of these stocks where I'm going to go to that stock right now. This is $177, and I'm going to put that in perspective. PE ratio, 422. 40's high. 400? But look at the 5-year on this. This is 2023. We did a video on Palantir in 2023 when it was at $8. Here, even if you go, deep into 2024, you're still at $23 in the middle of the year in 2024. You're now at $177. Let's go on a real chart here.
And Tom, what type of cash do they have?
Nothing to justify this. I mean, their cash situation is just fine. Their balance sheet is just fine. But this is not trading like a company that's just fine. This is now, if I go back, this is now a $423 billion market cap. And to put it in perspective, if you look at this,
I think it's undervalued.
They're 72. They're making 72 cents a share, and they're trading at $177. To put it in perspective, Marathon's making 5 times that per share, and they're trading at $10. That's just what is. So tell me how those two things work in the same universe. Other than this is how it works. The stock market is irrational. You're talking about a company. I mean, they're ramping up. This is, these are phenomenal numbers. 53% growth, followed by 42% growth, 20%. If these were both 20%, that would be an A+. So I understand these are great numbers, but all of that ramps this up to a $6 billion revenue company. They're a $400 billion market cap company. It didn't make sense at $20. It certainly doesn't make sense to me at $1.77. So I don't get it. And
I really think it's undervalued. You forget one thing about the stock market, Tom. It's the future value. It's the future potential that they have.
Yeah, but
and I think that they have such a huge potential. It's not even funny.
They've priced in so much potential into this. They're at a 400 PE. They got to 10x their income to get back to the super high end of where companies trade at PE values. And I just don't. Maybe listen. Maybe they're NVIDIA, and 3 years from now they're going to be making billions and billions and billions of dollars. But right now their top line is barely that. Never mind their bottom line. Having said all that, I said that at $20 and they went to $177. So guess who was wrong? Me.
Yeah, David. Yeah. Nobody, the government contract, that's what I'm talking about. The government contracts and what they're going to do. The dirty little secret, Tom, is I don't think we need the government to be open. That's the dirty little secret.
Well,
does that make sense?
And
I mean, I think you're seeing that. I'm not saying I want it to close or anything like that. I don't, but I think that's what we kind of found out last time it was closed. You know what I mean? It's bad for stocks. It's bad for the stock market. It's all that, and it's bad for you and I. But when you have people that believe the way they believe, you know what I mean? Right or wrong, it doesn't. Compromise sometimes is key.
To go to your point, we had the longest shutdown in government history, and I'm going to go to a chart right now. So we just got out of the longest shutdown in government history, and today the stock market hit a new all-time high. All-time high. So it's not exactly like the last one, which was the longest one in history, destroyed us, because it didn't, because we're at a new all-time high right now. So
and look at it. We just got these unemployment numbers, and I mean, it almost guarantees the rates aren't going down.
I'm gonna go through the unemployment numbers because I want to show some people there's some numbers buried in there. These were a freaking nightmare, and we need to talk about it. And I've got some other news on that front. I believe we will be getting rate cuts in 2026 that are historic level rate cuts. I believe, however, I think there's no shot in this meeting coming up. There should be. This jobs report should have screamed lower rates. But instead, the odds went down that they would lower rates. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So if you look, here's the Fed Watch tool. It's now at a solid 95% chance the market has built in that there will be no rate cut on January 28th. And the market's right about this. And 95 is going to turn into 99. That's where it belongs. Only because that's what's happening, not because that's what should happen. I'm going to go to the jobs number next, and then you guys can vote and tell me what you think. Sour Melon Gaming's asking, what's the update on the 10K channel? We said it and forget it. So other than we unfortunately did make one.
I will look at it right now. I'll pull it up right now. I don't even want to look at it. It was around 4,000-ish. Hey, remember, it got up to $8,000. Sorry.
And we didn't truly set it and forget it. We sold our Bitfarms at all-time lows. I'll let George look that up, but we'll keep going. So let's talk about the jobs report that just came out. U.S. payroll rose 50,000 in December, less than expected. Unemployment rate falls to 4.4. So it was 4.5. Now it's 4.4. That's all of those are not really in the area we want, but they're not in nightmare areas by any means. But what we should be looking at, non-farm payrolls rose a seasonally adjusted 50,000 in December, lower than the downwardly revised 56,000 in November. So November got revised lower, but we're going to talk about something more than that. And short of the Dow Jones estimate of 73,000. So we thought we were going to add 73,000 jobs. We only added 50,000, but that's the tip of the iceberg. The unemployment rate fell to 4.4 compared to a forecast of 4.5, a more encompassing measure that includes discouraged workers, and the underemployed dropped to 8.4. Average hourly earnings rose 0.3, but that's not what I want to get to. See this chart? This is how many jobs we've added per month over the last, since 2022. Look at October. October was revised down to losing 173,000 jobs. So we've only had 2 months in the last 3 years. In June, we lost, it was a very small amount. You can see this chart isn't telling me the number, but a couple thousand jobs. Here we lost, I think, 10 or 15,000 jobs in August. This is 173,000 jobs. And let me find what they're. So last month they told us it was 105,000 that we lost, and that sounded like a disaster, except, oops, that's incorrect. It's 173,000. By the way, we are now in a position. Let me see if they talk about this in here. The annual payroll gains of 584,000 for 2025 is the worst year outside of a recession since 2003. It's fair to say 2025 was a hiring recession in the United States. Long wrote, the United States is experiencing a jobless boom where growth is strong but hiring is not. It's a great scenario for Wall Street, but an uneasy feeling on Main Street. Now, remember, they will later adjust that number for the year. And when they do, it very well could be a negative number for the year. Because remember, last year they did their annual adjustment, and it was almost 1 million jobs they reduced it by. So we only added 584,000 all year. So I think you're going to be somewhere around zero when they do their final revision on the actual numbers for 2025. But either which way, this is one of the worst years in decades from a jobs standpoint. And it's a year of the Fed. So, right, the Fed has a dual mandate. They want to keep inflation down, and they want to keep unemployment down and add jobs. So inflation's been down for 2.5 years. This is the worst job number we've had in 20 years. And they're not lowering rates. It's making it worse. So the fact that everybody digested this and said, oh, yeah, let's definitely not lower rates, it confuses me. I don't understand it, because you can't live in a world where whenever you decide inflation's going to be the boogeyman, right? Because the Fed went through 1.5 years of radical inflation, the second worst inflation in the history of the country. And it said, don't worry, it's transitory, it's not real. While it was happening. Now we have no inflation. Well, not no inflation. We have normalized inflation below the 40-year average. But there's this boogeyman that, but we could in the future. You never know. Might have inflation later.
We're going to make a vote on the 10K challenge, by the way, because I got $600 to spend.
Oh, okay.
$3,900.
3,900.
Remember, it got up to $8,000, guys. 8 freaking grand.
That's
But it's only two things now: CleanSpark and Marathon.
well, see, that's killing it. It's CleanSpark, Marathon, which is the dog out of all of them, and we got rid of our Bitfarms.
But listen to this: we have 270 shares of CleanSpark. So I mean,
And
when
even-
that runs,
even
it's
cl-
going
right.
to go above over 10 grand.
Because even CleanSpark has been a dog. We didn't have any of the Bitcoin data center type stocks, any of those that were leading on there. So, but we'll see. We'll still get back there, I believe.
And we're up $1,500. We're up. We're almost 100% gain on that CleanSpark. It's just everything else we did was bad. Total gain is 67%.
Marathon's we'll see how Marathon goes this year. Somebody earlier asked me, do I own Marathon? Yes, I do own Marathon. I have been dollar cost. I bought some Marathon in the 9s. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I don't think I bought anything last week. It might have been last week. I can't remember, but I bought some Marathon in the 9s. I believe we'll look back and go, wow, you can buy Marathon for under $10. That's crazy time.
Well, it's only $10.22 right now, Tom.
I know. It's still a buying opportunity. I'm not going crazy. I've done, as you guys that have been here know, I have done a lot of dollar cost averaging in. I'm slowing down quite a bit and just looking for true opportunities. I'm also looking for the next basket of stocks to start moving into because, you know, the portfolio does have to segue at some point to other things. So even though a part of me right now would say, just put everything into Marathon. Number one, I never do that. And number two, you know, it has been the worst one over the last 2 years. So I don't know when the turnaround is. That's always the problem. It's a timing game, and you got to be with your stocks that don't move when you want them to move. If you still believe in the thesis, then you got to be patient. If you don't, if you think things have changed and they're fundamentally now a bad company, not a good company, then you get rid of them. But to me, I'm looking at Marathon going, they hold more Bitcoin than all the other Bitcoin mining companies put together, and it's not even close. So if Bitcoin does what it's supposed to do this year, just by the nature of holding 53,000 Bitcoin, they are going to go up dramatically. That's my opinion. Now, you might say, well, you're wrong because Bitcoin's not going to go up this year. Well, if Bitcoin doesn't go up this year, then that is totally wrong. So, you know, there are no guarantees.
What is Redwire? I've never heard of Redwire.
What's what?
Redwire Corporation, RDW. We bought
that?
Oil. We bought snake oil. I'm sorry.
I never
No. We bought snake oil. Just said we should throw it all into Redwire, and I just asked what is Redwire.
So I don't know. I've never heard of that company. We can look it up. I just want to answer this. Dave is saying, Mara, quote, rents their miners. They don't own their own complexes and hardware. So that is partially true. Marathon, remember, started out in the last halving. Their strategy was, we are going to be asset light. We're going to they own all their machines. But they didn't want to own the infrastructure from top to bottom, meaning the data centers and the energy. So they put their money into the machines instead. Now, many years ago, they shifted philosophy. So more than half of their machines are now totally vertically integrated, including they have their own mining pool. So, but they do still have machines that other people host. So that's a factor with Marathon. But they don't rent machines, and they don't, they did move tens and tens of thousands of machines into their own infrastructure, and they continue to build out.
Oh, build components for data center and orbit. Okay.
Gambit Beer saying, Tom, thank you for the super chat. Thanks for being a member. Tom, explain to the world the downside of a non-independent Fed/central bank run by politicians. Incidentally, Trump wants to buy mortgage bonds. I know if we have time, we'll talk about that, because that's something new. The bond rates have been very stubborn, and a lot of that is due to Jerome Powell. Now they're talking about maybe the government buying some bonds, I think, in an effort to move rates down the way they should be moving down. But people don't believe that things are getting better. People don't believe that inflation is going to go away. And people don't believe that rates are going down and staying down. So those long-term rates, those are the things that affect them. And yes, you don't want, I mean, there's a reason why the Fed is, quote, independent of the government. And right, because the Fed has a dual mandate. The federal government has all kinds of mandates, right? It runs the gambit from national defense to, everything else under the sun, to, by the way, getting reelected. So, once you start having politicians making those decisions, they become political decisions. The one thing I'd say about Jerome Powell is I don't, his line of reasoning makes no sense to me whatsoever, but he's been very consistent. So it's not like, he's changed his view and he bent to the politicians. And so it's, in theory, I don't know, practically speaking, is it always 100% independent? I mean, there's a relationship there, but in theory, it's an independent agency and it has a dual mandate, and that is to keep inflation low and to keep unemployment low. So that's right. Their target inflation rate is 2%, but that's a little misleading. While we have reached and sometimes even exceeded that, in that we've had lower than 2% inflation, our 40-year average is about 3.5%. So anything under that, and the Fed's doing its job. Even where the unemployment is right now, it's at the very high end of the range we want to be, and it's getting worse and worse. But it hasn't spiraled out of control yet, but there has been a massive shift. Jobs were not a concern at all a year and a half ago and 2 years ago. And inflation 3 years ago was at a 40-year high. So it was very simple. It was time to raise rates. In fact, they missed it by a year. They should have raised rates way earlier. So, but now we're in the flip scenario. Now we got inflation under control, other than everybody keeps saying, well, it could come back. Well, I mean, anything could happen. So that's, if that's your theory, then just throw darts at a board. You got to go based on the information on the ground. Right now, what's happening is we seem to have inflation under control, and the job market is soft. This is the worst right here. The annual payroll gains of 584,000 for 2025 is the worst year outside of a recession since 2003. The job market is not doing well. Job market not doing well equals lower interest rates, but they're not going to lower them. There's a 95% chance they're not lowering them. I believe that interest rates will be down to 2% at the end of the year. And to put it in perspective, if you look at what the market has built in as the year-end expectation, it's 3%. 3%. Some people think 3.25%. 3%, 2.75, 2.5, 2.25. By the time you get down to where I think it's going to be, it's a 0.3% chance right now. And I'm going to take a screenshot of that because I'm just telling you, I feel pretty strongly, and this is not financial advice, and I don't know the future, but I feel pretty strongly you're going to see 2% interest rates by December 31st.
Well, I think you're going to see two totally different years. We got the first half and then the second half.
So let's go. Let's just remind everybody of an important thing.
Someone was saying, it was asking us as you do that. Somebody was talking about how low Bitcoin could get before the next halving. And I actually don't think it's going to get too much lower personally, just because if it does, Bitcoin doesn't work. Meaning you can't be profitable as you mine a Bitcoin.
Right.
That comes into play. Quickly.
That's a factor. There's a lot of factors, and that's a big one. And a lot of companies went out of business in the last crypto winter, right? Our list is half the size as it was, and I think it's going to be half the size again after the next halving. Just a quick aside to finish that last conversation here. Jerome Powell's term as chair of the Federal Reserve Board officially ends on May 15th, 2026. So that's sneaking right up on us. So we're just about done with Jerome Powell. Now, while the Fed is an independent agency, the president does appoint the chairman of the Federal Reserve. So the next chairman will be appointed by President Trump, who's on record as saying he thinks the interest rate should be 1% right now. Now, I will tell you, for me personally, I put everything that he says through a filter of hyperbole. So if he's saying 1, he means 2 or 2.5. That's my opinion.
Wow.
That's how I interpret the things that he says. A lot of people just listen to him, take him at face value, and have a full-blown meltdown. But I think if you look at the track record, every word he says seems to be a negotiation, and he does not expect 1%. And you can see the market doesn't believe there's any chance of 1% interest rates. But I think 2%, I think we're getting to 2% interest rates. That's why I think that. And we're now counting the days down to Jerome Powell being gone. And I'm just going to tell you, in my opinion, he was one of the worst Fed chairs in a long, long time. I can't. Almost every move he made, I would have done the opposite. So I don't.
Tom Gamet said, sounds like if you went on Polymart, you'd get a 300-to-1 odds.
Oh, Gambit. Great point. That's probably on Polymarket. I'm going to look into that because I will take all of that all day long. What a good thought that was. Yeah.
I think they call it Fed rate.
Yes. So we'll see, right? We're going to get a new Fed chair, and I do think that we're going to get a lot of interest rate cuts. And yes, it is important that that remains independent, in my opinion, from the politicians who, again, the Fed has a dual mandate. That's very specific. It's trying to accomplish two things with its monetary policy. If the politicians get their hands on that, here's what they're going to be trying to accomplish. Let's get reelected. So to me, that in a nutshell is the biggest, easiest way to explain that situation. So will the Supreme Court allow the tariffs to continue? This is basically 60-40. This is extremely split. So this is a real shocker to me. So we'll see, George. Next week could be the week we find out. This was very close. 61. I'll leave it open for one more minute. 61% think.
Being interesting.
Yeah, 39% of people right now think that they're going to say the tariffs are not legal and essentially take the tariff power out of, there's some specific language. There was an act invoked to use these tariffs, and that's what they're making a judgment on. But, taking that away has monumental ramifications. So stay tuned. We may very well get that. Next Wednesday is a Fed decision day. This could be one of the decisions that they make.
Tom, question. How many, BPS basis points is 2% from where it is today?
Well, we're at...
I know, but they do it funky. It's like 0.25 is a...
We're at 3.5, and I'm talking about getting to 2. So that's 150 basis points.
Okay, because they have a 300 basis point is 2%. 156%.
150 basis point cut.
It's 6%.
Also, a lot more people in the betting world think that it's at 0.3% in the financial markets, but you're saying on Polymarket it's at 6%.
Yeah.
I'll still take that all day. Twice on Sunday.
So 6 gets you $1, basically, right?
6 cents gets you $1.
$1 US.
That's right.
Ooh.
Prediction markets, for those of you who don't know, we talked about this a lot on the members only stream. I think those are going to be huge in 2026.
175 is 2%.
175 is 2%. And
right.
You know what? And this is where, but $6 and $2, you throw a little bit at each.
Oh.
It's not out of the question. For $2 will get you 2 cents will get you $1. I think there's a lot higher than 2% chance of that happening. That's how you have to look at it. It's the same as poker. You got to calculate your pot odds, and is it worth putting money in? And so
I like the 0.25 is 11%. That's the one I like, and it's down 25%.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's some opportunity. Now, who knows? You never know, right? You
my goodness.
Remember.
But listen to this one. This doesn't even make sense. How many Fed rate cuts in 2026?
See, how many Fed rate cuts is a dumb question because it depends how much they cut. If they do, let's say they have an emergency meeting and cut 100 basis points.
But I don't understand this. It says 1.1. A 25 basis point, 8% chance. That pays 93 cents. How can that be?
That means only one, I'm assuming.
Right. Oh, I got you. So if there's 2, you lose?
If there's 2, you lose.
Oh, okay. I thought once you hit it, you won.
No, this is a hit the bullseye situation.
Okay.
Everybody remember...
So that's why you take more than one.
Prediction markets is just a euphemism for gambling. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but just know what you're getting into. They are places you can go gamble.
Tom. It's not gambling. You're making a decision based on events that are going to happen.
It's a prediction market. Like we have predictive algorithms. This is a prediction market.
We are doing a predictive market, and I can't gamble. So
I predict the prediction markets are going to gain in popularity like nobody can believe at this point.
I think it will be the largest growth area for the economy in 2026. How about that one?
The only aside I would have to that is there's going to be so much money put, and maybe you can count this as crossover into, you got crypto, you got AI. There's going to be,
there is such a shift coming, Tom. It's crazy. I mean, as long as the bubble doesn't happen with AI.
And Joseph saying Trump can file an appeal, which I assume he would absolutely do if they lose that. But you're just appealing to the same group of people that just made a decision. There is no court higher in the land.
God.
Well, unfortunately, you don't get to. That's not an option.
By the way, that's when I say this is going to be a crazy 26. I mean, this is going to be a crazy 26.
Well, we just talked about a lot of things that can go haywire. We got a pending government shutdown, although this crowd was pretty optimistic that we're not going to end up having a government shutdown. We've got a Supreme Court ruling on the tariffs. We're pretty split, 61 to 30. 39% of the people think these tariffs are gonna go away. And I don't know what the point of appealing the Supreme Court would be, because yes, they are the highest court in the land, and they are the final. There is no court above that court. You would be appealing it to the same court. So I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Just got here. Tom wondering if I still hold any Canaan. I've been holding since 2022 and been able to average down to 475. Ugh. So I don't hold any Canaan. They've diversified into Bitcoin mining. Obviously, they make Bitcoin miners. They got a big contract within the last few months for some of their miners. So, I mean, I like what's going on there. It didn't make the cut, and I'm not going to add anything to my Bitcoin-related portfolio at this point.
Wow. Supreme Court rules in favor of Trump's tariff. A 25% chance of a yes.
25. So the poly market's got it at 25% chance. That what rules in favor?
Rules in favor of Trump's tariffs.
So that's a 75% chance that they rule against.
I know, that's why it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, if that's right, then I'm probably gonna turn me into a compulsive gambler right here in real time, George.
But that one, to me, that's a good one. I would imagine that's going to end in the next 2 to 3 weeks at the most.
Right. That they should make that decision. I mean, a lot of people thought it was coming today. It didn't. But, speculation was today was the day.
Do you have a pick on which one of the Kevins? Or who you think is going to be the next Fed chair?
It's going to be one of the Kevins.
Do you lean towards one over the other? No?
I think their crypto opinions vary slightly, but to me,
both the same. Pretty much.
Either one is.
Isn't one something to do with Coinbase, and one something to do with another crypto? Forgot who it was. But whatever.
Does a new law require Congress? So this is the other thing. Obviously, no matter what the Supreme Court decides, Congress can pass a law. And Gambit Beer's asking, does a new law require Congress, 50% of Congress, or supermajority? I'm not sure how it works. So in the Senate, it's 60%. And that's a tough threshold given the complete partisanship. It's been a long time since anybody's had 60 seats. It is virtually impossible that either party will have 60 seats after the midterms. And that's what you need to get even the budget passed. Now, they can blow that up. But once you do...
Will there be another U.S. government shutdown by January 31st? Yes, 23%.
And 23% on poly market?
Yeah.
23%?
Yes, I know.
Oh, boy.
I'm telling you,
I'm in big trouble.
I think I'm doing that one.
That's shocking.
Isn't it?
Dave is saying change is slow here. That is an understatement.
Do you think we're going to get a new all-time high this month, Tom? Is that the next poll? In January, or no? Do you think we're screwed for this?
No, I don't think we're going to get a new all-time high in January. Now, Tom Lee, for those of you who are familiar, he's a very high-profile person. His new company is BitMine, which is basically they're the #1 holder of Ethereum. They have over 4 million Ethereum, but he did call for Bitcoin to hit a new all-time high in January. I think that is awfully optimistic. He is a known optimist. He's a known bull. Realistically, I would like to see this. Realistically speaking, I would like to see Bitcoin turn around and recapture 100,000 in January. I think that would be a successful January, and that would set us up nicely for the way I believe 2026 is going to go for Bitcoin. And I think it's going to go to in my opinion, it's going to go to much higher numbers. But the first step one would be to reclaim 100,000. And we're not so far away from that. I mean, we're sitting at 90,500 right now.
Dude, I already know what to do on that they're not doing on this Polymark, by the way. But anyways, go ahead.
If you just got here, or if you haven't yet, if you could smash the like button, it does help us out big time.
83. Thanks, guys. Wow,
83.
Awesome.
We're getting close to 100. We're going for 100 likes. It does help the stream. Our stream is getting harder and harder to find out there in the world. So every time you smash the like button, that promotes it. So we appreciate that a lot.
They have stupid stuff on this, like how many times will Elon Musk tweet in the month of January?
This is what I'm saying. It's gambling. You can put anything on there.
Predictions.
It's a prediction market on nonsense. Those are called prop bets. Or they used to be. Now they're called prediction markets, I guess.
He tweets out that much. I'm seeing like 520 to 600. Wow, that's
We
crazy.
Bought Snake Oil said Bitcoin will double by Valentine's Day. Plan ahead.
I love you. That would be nice. It'd be about time.
Sourmelon Gaming, you're a member. You're a longtime member of the team. We appreciate your input.
Sorry, I just find it interesting, all these Polymark things.
Oh, you can get lost in that. There's no end. If you're interested in something, there's probably can we call it a bet? Money that you can prediction market on it.
There's a prediction you can make on it, yes.
That's right. So let's get I got it.
Dude, I can't even imagine how much money is being made on Polymark. Are they going public?
They're only just beginning. That guy, I believe, is already a billionaire. There's a lot of competition coming. Everybody's getting into the prediction market. I just saw something. I think that Coinbase is going to get into this.
Yeah, but they would just buy this, don't you think? This is insane, dudes.
Well, that's probably Polymarket's fate. Somebody's going to buy it, right?
My guy, this is crazy, my guy.
Why, to your point, one of the, Magnificent Seven, why start from scratch and try and catch up to Polymarket? Just throw $10 billion at them.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. This is all cryptocurrency, so I don't know what the legalities. Everybody's jumping in. Robinhood's already in. Yeah, they're already in the prediction market. So, I don't know. Requires further investigation, but clearly this is not even what's next. It's already here.
Well, and what I find too, Tom, is the first company doesn't usually do well. I mean, they do good, but there's always the second company usually does better.
Well, and there's 2 or 3 companies out there, and I do think what you just said is going to happen. I think it's, until you said that, I hadn't really put any thought into it, but somebody's just going to buy them. Or they could try to go public, but I would take the money. If I was a betting man, which I'm sure the person that owns Polymarket is. Do you both own lots of Tesla? Wondering if I should sell a little at 500. So let me see if I can find this. I know that's not.
I just saw it. I saw that you had it up when you were doing the notes before the show.
Yeah, here we go. Tesla annual sales declined 9% as it's overtaken by BYD, which is a Chinese company. That is the company that for years and years Warren Buffett invested in through Berkshire Hathaway. Now they have totally divested from BYD, but they are now the global leader in sales of electric vehicles. This is the second year in a row deliveries fell for Tesla. Tesla deliveries 1.63 million vehicles globally in 2025, a 9% fall from 1.79 million in 2024. But here's the thing. We're finally getting to the point, and I really used to criticize people that said this. People 5 years ago who said Tesla's not a car company, 100% of their revenue was from cars. It's basically still 100% of their revenue is from cars. However, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I think people aren't even going to, 5 years from now, they certainly still will. But 10 or 15 years from now, if Tesla does what they said they're going to do, people won't even think about cars when they say Tesla. So there's other lines of revenue coming here in robotics and AI that I think still make Tesla a long-term buy. But I'm not buying in at this level. And I should have bought in when I said I was going to buy in. It got to my exactly to my price target, and I didn't do it. So I've missed the boat on this. But I do think you're going to see they're going to remain one of the leaders in the world, right? They're now in second place. Big deal. And they make a lot of money. But this is another one where I had a window. We talked about it on the channel. I picked a price point of $250, I think, and I didn't do it. So I missed it.
And it was my fault. It was my fault. I said 175. We got so close to it. It wasn't 250. You picked, you got to yours, and I said, Tom, wait, it's going to get to 175.
Right.
And
so
we
we
got to like 190.
I know.
It turned around.
We lowered the bar, and it seemed like it was definitely going to get there.
DCA. That's the reason.
Gambit Beer. There are no Cybertrucks in Europe. They are ugly. I saw their Cybertruck sales.
Oh my God, yeah.
And they're low, but I will tell you, the town I live in, you would think it's one of the most popular cars on the road.
Yeah, well, we're kind of in this, the stupid.
There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, and this is a very small town of Cybertrucks. And it takes getting used to. I will say I'm now used to looking at them because there's so many here, but they look so different than anything else on the road that I understand somebody saying they look ugly. That was my knee-jerk reaction when I saw it. I'm like, what? Why? But
well, did you see how much the price went down?
They're giving them away. That's why I'm not surprised I'm surprised they're not selling them hand over fist. For what you get in that car, that's the best bang for your buck, I think, on the market.
Have you been in one?
I work with somebody that owns a brand new one, and I'm in it all the time, and it boggles my mind what that thing can do.
Really?
It's way past where I thought they would be. It's not where they said they'd be, but it's way past where I thought they would be. Most times he does not touch the wheel ever.
What?
That includes from the time we walk into the truck, it backs itself out of the parking space, it drives to where we're going, and then it parks itself.
But would somebody like me use that mode, or does it take too long to do it?
Well, there's a trick. No, it doesn't take too long. It takes 1 second. You just say go. You just press destination, and it goes to where you want to go.
Wow.
But here's the trick. There's modes. So he drives in Mad Max mode. There is one mode above Mad Max, which I'm guessing you would drive in, George. And I am sometimes surprised at the turns that it will make into traffic in Mad Max mode are not turns that I would make if I was behind the wheel. So
what's the next mode after Mad Max?
I can't remember the name of it, and he doesn't go into that. I'll find out the name of it, but it's a significant difference. It goes above the speed limit, which is very surprising to me that they would have a feature that has the auto driving significantly above the speed limit, and it's what I feel like it takes chances, but obviously statistically they're not taking chances or they wouldn't be doing it. So it knows it's just better at, a computer's obviously better at calculating a traffic move than a human is, although probably not better than George. I will tell you, once you get used to driving with George, you get to any place you want faster than any other way in history, but there is a learning curve to being a passenger.
Just realize I'm not going to get in an accident.
It's been 40 years and you haven't gotten in an accident, so I don't even now I can sleep in the passenger seat. But if it's your first trip around,
it's scary.
Yeah.
But would you sell Tesla now, or do you think it's going to have a run?
If I had bought Tesla and I was in it for a good price, I would be a buy and hold. But here's the thing. This is another stock that sells off and then recovers, and then it sells off and then recovers. So if you're a swing trader, that's been the history of Tesla. That's what it's done over time.
Yeah, I would imagine there. I don't disagree with that statement. Tesla and Palantir are the two most overvalued companies in the stock market, yet they refuse to come down.
And Ken, that is why I have never, and I will never short a stock. Because when I look at a stock like Palantir or, Tesla 6 or 7 years ago, I would have, I look at that and say, man, this valuation is stupid. The only problem is they 10x or 20x or 50x from there. So rational has got nothing to do with it. So I just, I'm missing out on an entire way of trading, but I don't know. I feel like you got to have inside information to short a stock, because how do you know how long the market's going to be irrational for? And you can't, and it's not like, see, if you're long a stock and the market's irrational, you can just buy it and hold it. You just wait for it. You can wait 20 years if you want. If you short a stock and you're wrong and it doubles, you got to cover a margin call. You got to kick in more money and more, or just lose all your money and walk away. So it's not the same thing. Shorting stocks is very dangerous, and I don't do it. If I did do it, I would buy some options protection on that, because it's a different level. Some of you may have success. Congratulations if you do. I think that's, expert level stuff.
Yeah, but you get that taste, and you know what I mean? And once you get it, it's so hard not to do it.
Yeah, well, and that's gambling again. And the worst thing that can happen in a casino is that you walk in the first time and win big. That's almost a guaranteed formula for a life of losing money at the casino. So it's a bad lesson. One of the, maybe 20 years ago, I was in a poker room waiting to get on the table. And, I play poker for fun. It's not meaningful money. And I at this point, other than sitting around the kitchen table, I really don't get out to a casino anymore, but I used to. My point is, there was a kid, he just turned 18, so he wanted to come play poker at the casino. So he got in line. There was about a 10-minute wait. So he put money in the slot machine, pulled the lever, won $20-something thousand. He'd been in the building for 2 minutes. And I literally pulled him aside. I said, go home and never come back here ever again. You are the all-time winner. Just go. So I don't know what ended up happening to him.
Wow.
That was crazy.
98, Tom. I think we're going to get 100.
We're almost at 100. Very nice. Appreciate it. Let's just take a quick peek. So Bitcoin is still hanging around over 90,000. So my goal for this weekend is for Bitcoin to hold 90. My goal for January is for Bitcoin to reclaim 100. And let's do a poll, because we did this with the members, but let's see what the rest of the world thinks. Almost done. All right. Where do we think this thing's going? This is for the year 2026. So I'm going to give you the options I put. $100,000 or less. We're at $90,000 right now. So if we are in a crypto winter, if the 4-year cycle is real and this thing's over, then that's it. It's not going to go back over 100. 126,000, that is the previous all-time high that we hit in October. Or do you think it's going to go to 150,000? Or lastly, the most bullish scenario is, do you think it's going to go to 175,000 or more? So where do we think Bitcoin is going in 2026? And remember, this is in the year 2026. So the hard part is, where's it going, but when is it going there? And can you tolerate the amount of time between now and then to stay in this, sector? Jason's asking, you guys think Fred and Mara have any tricks up their sleeve? Maybe Trump helps them or invests or promotes, etc. I think all of the Bitcoin mining companies could very well, George, you're the first one that said this a long time ago. I think all the Bitcoin mining companies and what we'll now call the Bitcoin mining data center, high performance computing companies could end up getting government subsidies in a fairly significant way this year. Because
I thought we were going to get a Christmas present, but that didn't happen.
Everything takes longer than you want it to, than you hope it will, and there's some stuff lining up. They want to get this legislation passed. That is still a battle. I think once that happens, and here's the thing, it doesn't even have to be about Bitcoin, because remember, these are, for the most part, almost without exception, these are now data center companies that are part of the AI cycle, and we've already put executive orders into place, getting money into, creating a grid that can support the coming need that AI is going to consume. So we're in that pipeline. These are those stocks. So that could be a boom at some point this year. And we'll see. I have Marathon. I continue to dollar cost average in a Marathon. I will tell you, I do not think they are the best Bitcoin mining company. That's just my opinion. I base that on the fact that, for the most part, while they hit their goals, they've taken significantly longer to get where they're going than they usually say they take to get where they're going. And they weren't just late on the AI thing, they were the last ones in. And I don't count ABTC because that's really just HUT getting out of the Bitcoin mining business. So they are still indirectly in the business because they're the largest shareholder in ABTC. But HUT has leaned into, right, when they did that, quote, merger of equals that nobody liked, and nobody liked it because they thought HUT 8 was getting a raw deal. But the reality is the assets that that company are using was the other company. So they switched gears, got out of Bitcoin mining, and they're an energy company, data center company, power play company. That's who they are, and their stock is doing very well. So I don't know. If you remember, there was a short report put out on them that is one of the most brutal short reports I've ever read. We tried to have them on the channel, and they canceled that day. So, that was frustrating, but I understand they probably just did not want to give more hype to the short report.
That's interesting, Sour. Sour said he switched devices. 101, thanks, guys. And does YouTube nowhere to be seen the stream?
Yeah, we say too many things they don't like here. That's just the bottom line. So if you made your way here, congratulations. We are the hidden stream because we actually talk about stuff that is frowned upon.
And I'm sure they know what I'm doing. Isn't that crazy? I'm building my own social media site, guys. I'm crazy. And it's done. I've just got to finish a few little things. Took me an extra year that I thought it would take. Let's see.
That's not easy. And Jason is saying the hedge funds use HUT as a money-making machine. So
it seems controlled. It seems like they, but I mean, when you have billions of dollars, obviously, you know what I mean?
Right.
They're going to
Remember,
pump it
these
to
are
a certain level, and then they're going to short it again, and then close it out and pump it again. And
they need to redefine all the classifications of what's a nano cap, a micro cap, a small cap, a medium cap, because everything has gotten magnitudes larger. So I still consider all of these, even the biggest one of these, I consider a small cap company. Technically, they're not, right? I mean, IREN's coming up on $20 billion market cap, but remember, there's $4 trillion companies out there, and not, although there's a lot of $2, $3, $4 trillion companies. So when you live in that kind of a world, to have a small cap be capped at $2 billion or start at $2 billion, I can't even remember now. Something's like 2 to 10 billion. It's all very low. My point is they need to modernize that because these are all ultra small stocks, even at the numbers they're trading at right now, even though they're somewhere between 5 and 10 times bigger than they were 2 years ago at the bottom of the crypto winter. They are still small and they're still capable of making big moves. And as a result of being small, they're still reasonably easy to manipulate. Dave said some channels are not sending notifications. It's like you need to refresh the system.
so I have a theory of why Bitcoin and why everything moved really fast, by the way. I think this is just a theory. I think we only have the first 45-ish to 50 days of the year. And then I think it's going to get ugly for a little bit and then get better at the end of the year.
You're predicting the middle of this year is going to get ugly. As we go into the political season, which is really, that's what's going on. Let me see if I can find.
Supposedly, Trump went off on Truth Social last night.
What's the topic?
About things that happened that went one way but could have been another way. You like that?
We're a crypto channel. That was pretty cryptic.
Yeah.
This is what's currently in the way of U.S. crypto market structure bill harmony. So, though consequential Senate committee votes may be coming, the talks over the bill's language haven't yet satisfied fundamental requests from Democrats. So, Democrats in the U.S. Senate have made a serious effort to sit down and negotiate crypto legislation with Republicans, but the current talks over the market structure bill have long hung on several major issues that are not yet resolved. Republicans are ready to move forward with markups next week on the bill that aren't yet completed. So they've talked about this, and the Republicans have come out and said they want to push this forward next week. It seems unlikely, leaving some questions about how much last-minute compromising Democrats are willing to do or whether some of them will ultimately walk away. I want to go to Senator Tim Scott, the chairman of the Senate Banking Committee, argued lawmakers can't wait any longer to move forward on crypto market structure legislation. He said a January 15th markup hearing is coming, and the other necessary markup from Senate Agriculture Committee reportedly may happen on the same day. However, some half-dozen items remain unresolved. So I just want to go through ethics. So these are all demands from the Democrats. A demand for language that bans senior government officials from pulling personal profits from crypto activity, as witnessed with President Donald Trump and his family. But Republican negotiator Senator Cynthia Lummis, right, she's been leading the charge, said she took a compromise provision to the White House and was rebuffed. Trump administration officials have routinely said that his family's participation in digital asset businesses don't represent an inappropriate conflict of interest. The take from crypto lobbyist Republicans will never agree to go after the leader of their party. So this, to me, there's a bunch of things, but to me, there's a reason they put this first, and they're calling it ethics, which to me, I would debate the ethics of calling this ethics. This is about Donald Trump not making money from cryptocurrency. Period. Full stop. That's what's going on. That is the last sticking point. We'd be done with this right now. If Donald Trump had nothing to do with cryptocurrency and the Trump family was not benefiting in any way, shape, or form from cryptocurrency, this would all already be done. But this is the mother of all sticking points. And I hope they find a way to work through this and get past it, because I don't really care what one person is doing. There's millions and potentially billions of people that stand to benefit from having, the crypto universe continue to mature. But until there's regulations, it's the Wild West, and big money is coming into it a lot slower than they otherwise would. So that's what's going on. DeFi, oversight for decentralized finance that's on par with federally regulated financial firms. That's just not going to happen. This is an area that some negotiation has addressed, but its fundamental definitions and questions remain unanswered. If there's oversight on DeFi that's on par with federally regulated financial firms, then by definition, it's not DeFi. So that's not happening. Lesser matters, yield, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission that would be elevated to a leading role in U.S. crypto, right? Because these have been deemed to be commodities, not securities. So this is the agency that oversees this. And they're saying they should have a full slate of commissioners, including the 2 slots from Democrat appointees. So they want to bulk up the Commodities Futures Commission to act like the SEC does, which to me, that's the last thing we need. That's my opinion. That's why they don't show this channel to anybody. So what do you think, George?
It's a game. It's just a game.
I mean, is this going to get passed in 2026? That's our next poll. Let's review this poll.
I don't know. I mean, I was just reading. I'm trying to find what Trump texted last night, in this thing, and I just started reading about the SAVE Act. And
all right.
I just shake my head. You know what the SAVE Act is, right?
Tell us what the SAVE Act is.
It's about voting in the United States and requiring ID to vote. And I'm sorry.
That is a hot potato.
I mean, when I hear things like disenfranchise the Black community, it drives me out of my ever-loving mind.
Sorry, you got something in my eye.
They gotta have an ID to get any type of anything.
Yeah,
but
I don't even know how that's an issue. I agree.
I went and I rented a hotel room, and the guy goes, I need your license. I'm like, I ain't got a license. He goes, what? I said, yeah, I mean, dude, I can vote in this country. What do I need a license for to get a room? And this was a guy who had one of, You
can't rent a chainsaw at Home Depot without identification. So, I mean, we won't even get into it because obviously that's its own universe, but it is what it is. Bitcoin 2026 high, 100K or less. So these are people who believe we're in a crypto winter, or at least a bear market. 16%. Not bad. 126K. So getting back to the previous all-time high, but not getting past it. 22%. So that was second last and last place. 150K, 30%. And in first place, 175K or more, 32%. So if I split this down the middle, people that think we're going to get to at least $150,000 with Bitcoin this year is about 65% of the people. 63%. So that's a pretty decent majority, approaching a 2/3 majority. So that's pretty encouraging. And I would agree with that. My target's 175, but I think this 150 seems to be where a lot of people are starting to look. And that's going to change multiple times across the year. Because remember, last year there was people out there going, by the end of 2025, it's going to be at 200. It's going to be at 250. By the end of this cycle, it's going to be at 1 million. It's going to be et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to go through those ups and downs. But in the end, I do think this is going to be a good year for Bitcoin. And really, from 90,000, 150 or 175 would be a nice win. That would be a very nice year. Even 126K is okay, right? It has to go up a bunch to do that, but I think we'd all be disappointed if that's all it does. I would be. And Jason's noting Cynthia Loomis is not running for office again, which is scary. Loomis is the Bitcoin champion, and that is true. She's done, and she has done more to forward cryptocurrency in government than anybody. She's the most knowledgeable. She's kind of a Bitcoin champion. So actually, that's what Jason said. Loomis is a Bitcoin champion, which is true. Do you think the Republicans caved on the government CBDC digital currency? Will CBDC eventually happen to us and destroy our financial privacy? For as long as there's Bitcoin, I don't even care if there's also a CBDC. For as long as there's Bitcoin and XRP, etc., the two can live side by side. And those who choose to be on chain and trade a digital dollar, it's probably nobody in this crowd. But if you want to, fine.
Did you hear what Scott Bassett said?
I did not. I don't think so.
He's making it a felony. If you get assistance from the government, he's making it a felony to send money overseas. Or something to that effect.
Oh, as an individual, if you're getting government subsidies, you can't take those and send those back home.
I'm going to just say, the only thing I can say is act blue. I won't say anything more than that. Act blue, everyone. Act blue.
I guess look it up. I'm going to have to look that one up too.
What's the name of the Democratic fundraising party? Their website? Act blue. Act blue.
Well, here's some good news. Let's talk MicroStrategy for a minute. Not that. Oh, not that. Strategy, stock ticker MSTR, jumps 7% after MSCI decides against excluding Bitcoin treasury firms. So if you guys remember, this was the big deal. Morgan Stanley's going to knock all these treasury firms out of all of their indexes, and that's going to cause a cascade effect where everybody else knocks them out of their indexes. My counterpoint was MicroStrategy, or strategy now, is in the S&P 500. They're not going anywhere. This wasn't going to happen. This was never going to happen, and now they've said they're not going to do it. So that's off the table. It's one of the things that people thought why maybe they're not going to get into the NASDAQ because, they have this hanging over their head, but this is no longer hanging over their head. So now, could it come back a year from now or 2 years from now or 3 years from now? This doesn't mean it's off the table forever and can never happen. But this never made any sense to me. I don't think it's wildly specific. It's almost targeting a few select companies. And so I don't think this is going to happen. And right now, MSCI has said they will not be excluding Bitcoin treasury firms. And it was going to be all cryptocurrency treasury firms. Because there's firms that treasury Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and others. So that was good news for MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor's strategy catches a break from MSCI, but analysts caution the fight isn't over yet. So here you go. This is another article talking about how it could still, just because they said no now doesn't mean they can't come back later and raise this issue again. Strategy boosts Bitcoin holdings and cash reserves last week. So Michael Saylor-led company added 1,287 Bitcoin and 62 million in cash via the sale of common stock. So I'm surprised, and I guess that's what it's down to. It's their best option. Their stock is down so much that I'm a little surprised they're selling common stock. This is their at-the-market offering and buying Bitcoin with it. But this is how confident they are. They just do not want to stop buying Bitcoin. Now, they did have some other good news. Strategy's STRC perpetual preferred stock returns to $100, and that may trigger more Bitcoin buying. So selling their perpetual preferred at $100 is much more advantageous than selling their common stock at the market offering at this very low price that it's at right now based on historical pricing. This last 6 months was the first time since MicroStrategy bought their first Bitcoin that they had a 6-month window of time where they were down. And they weren't down a little. They got wrecked. They are now trading at a 1.04 MNAV. This was over 3 at one point. I don't know that it's going back to 3, but I have long said I think 1 is a pretty reasonable floor, and it's sitting there right now. So I do think you're going to see, with this decision, with the MSCI getting off their back, I think and this bottoming out process, I think you're going to start to see these stocks perform better. I don't own any strategy, but I do think it's probably going to have a good run. That's my opinion. What do you guys think? Drop it in the comments.
Tom, I think as a community, we might all need to start buying. That, I think, is the reason why Bitcoin price is staying down, by the way.
Because nobody's buying.
Yeah, it's shorted, and I think that's really causing people to doubt the long-term effects of Bitcoin.
A couple of things are going. I mean, you're right. 2 things to your point, George. Number one, some people are just out of powder. We've been dollar cost averaging in for so long that there's just not much left. And number 2, a lot of retail investors had the exact opposite reaction. Instead of viewing this as a buying opportunity, they bought high and sold low, which is what retail investors in general, on average, tend to do. Right? The big wallets have been net buyers big time in this downturn. It's the small money, it's the retail investor that's been running for the hills, and they'll come back when it's late. So you're right. Buying now, these are all, I think we will look back at this 80 to 90,000 period as like the last great buying opportunity. Who knows?
Who knows, Tom? Time tells.
Only time will tell.
But I got to eat some food or I'm going to fall apart.
All right, George, eat some food. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for joining us. We'll wrap
up.
Go Bills. Go. It's win or go home. So
hopefully I'm saying that next week too.
Go Bitcoin, go Bills.
See you, bye.
See ya. I'm just going to go through a couple other things real quick. Riot put out their December 2025 production report. We only had a few companies put out their reports. Almost nobody's doing monthly operational reports anymore. That's disappointing to me. I don't know about you guys. So let's ask. All right. Do you think it would be smart? Not do you want them to. Do you think it would be smart for these companies to start issuing monthly updates again? Because almost all of them have stopped putting out monthly updates. If we look, let me see if I have this open. In November, CleanSpark, BTDR, Riot, and Hive. Now, below the line, I have Kang and Can, but there's some very oddball things about these companies. Kang's cost per coin is double everybody else's, so it's not comparing apples to apples. So I have them below the line. Of the companies that we've been following for years and years and years, there's only these 4 left that are putting monthly operational reports out. And, we used to get one from everybody. We get 10 or 15 of these a month. Now we're getting 4. And of the 4, 3 have put them out. BitDR has not yet put theirs out, and they're the last ones to put it out. But these reports were good. So I think everybody beat last month. So Riot last month was 428 in November. So this most recent report is 460. But it's even better than that because they got $6.2 million in energy power credits on top of the 460 Bitcoin that they mined. So this was actually a good month for Riot. And Riot got that great deal. It rakes in these power credits, at a rate way past what everybody else is doing. So I thought this was a good report from them. However, it is noteworthy. Riot Platforms sold $200 million of Bitcoin in 2025's last 2 months. So they were net sellers. They have their stack. They still have the second biggest stack out of all the Bitcoin miners, but it's now, if you take a look, I should say it in here somewhere. It's now 18,005. In November, it was 19,368. So, they sold over 1,300 Bitcoin in December. They only mined, and plus the 460 they mined, right? Because they're net down. So, they sold possibly over the last 2 months a couple of thousand Bitcoin. It still leaves them with 18,000 Bitcoin, so I still think it's a healthy place to be. But they did sell, and in theory, what they're doing with this is trying to get cash. They also raised some cash to build out their data center infrastructure because they've got all that energy that they have energy agreements. They just need to build it out. So they need some money to do that. They borrowed some money. They sold some Bitcoin. To me, that's encouraging because it says they're going to get where they're going faster. So I like that. CleanSpark released theirs, 622 Bitcoin. That's up a bunch from last month. They are at 50 exahash. So they got to 50 exahash and they stayed there. IREN did the same thing, but there's a difference. IREN told us very early in the year, we're going to get to 50 exahash and we're going to stay there. CleanSpark told us they were going to get to 50 exahash and then by the end of the year get to 60 exahash. So they did get to 50 exahash first, just as they said they would, reasonably on schedule. But then they shifted gears. Remember, they were adamant they were going to be the one pure play Bitcoin mining company. They were not going to be involved in high performance computing. Well, they had a change at the CEO level. The chairman of the board, who used to be the CEO, is now the CEO again, and they are now aggressively pursuing data centers, including this bullet point right here. They entered the Texas market with acquired rights of 271 acre site and long-term power supply agreements totaling 285 megawatts for AI data centers. So that's 285 megawatts solely for AI data centers. They're also looking at converting some of their existing data centers from planned Bitcoin spots to AI. They're looking to aggressively grow in AI. So they got in later than some and earlier than others. Seeker saying Mara has 55,000 Bitcoin right now. So Mara has the most out of any Bitcoin miner. It's more than everybody else put together. but Riot has the second most at 18,000, and you can see CleanSpark has the third most at over 13,000. Bitcoin held at December 31st, 13,099. So those are all respectable numbers. That's a lot of Bitcoin to hold on your balance sheet, especially if Bitcoin's going to have a good year. Also, CleanSpark closed on an upsized 1.15 billion zero coupon convertible note offering, empowering CleanSpark to expand its power portfolio. Notice they say its power portfolio. So you're going to see them leaning heavily into the sentence above, AI data centers, and then power portfolio. There's been a quick, massive shift. I don't think, if I was CleanSpark, I would not buy another Bitcoin mining machine until sometime within 6 months of the next halving. They don't need them. The Bitcoin mining economics are not good. The network has gone down, I think, 5 times in a row now. The difficulty level has, one time it went sideways, the other 4 it went down. So, because the Bitcoin mining economics are not great at this price. So, keep your 50 exahash. Strike while it's hot on this AI data center power portfolio. And I think CleanSpark is leaning into that and they're embracing it. So I think this is everything I want to hear out of them, right? They can't go back in time and do it earlier. It'd been great if they had done this earlier, but that's off the table. It didn't happen. But they're in now, and they're not just in, they went all in. So I feel good about it. This is where Marathon is talking about being in, and they were really the last ones in, but I don't think they've taken as many steps. I do expect they are now over 2 months, Marathon I'm talking about, not putting out a press release. So I am expecting sooner than later a press release relating to an update on what they're doing from an AI power portfolio data center strategy. That's what I think is coming. I think it's overdue to go 2+ months. For a Bitcoin mining company, that's a long time to be radio silent. So it's another reason I think their stock is suffering. Do you think it would be smart for these companies to start issuing monthly updates again? 82% of you said yes. I vehemently agree with that. Don't run away. This is a big part of what these companies do. And the people the retail investors in particular, but all of the investors that cared about that side of the business now feel like they're in the dark. They've had information taken away from them. Now, what I think a lot of these companies are hoping is new investors just won't even think Bitcoin when they think IREN or when they think TeraWolf. Just Bitcoin won't even be a part of the thought process. And so for that reason, I think that those companies are not going to bring their monthly operational reports back, but they could bring them back in a way where they highlight all the things they've done with their AI infrastructure as well. So I don't know. I'm with you guys. I would like to see them. I think they should bring them back, but I'm skeptical that they will. And Dave said, not putting reports out as if Bitcoin is a shame issue and companies leaving the sector. What does that do to Bitcoin overall? Does it kill Bitcoin, or will new companies take over the load? The first thing is the Bitcoin network is so massive right now. It's 10 times bigger than it was just before, not this halving, but the last one. So the Bitcoin economics has not been good for years. People are banking on the price of Bitcoin going up significantly, which is why the network has run so far ahead of itself. And that's why I say there's a handful of companies that have gotten themselves to 50 or more exahash. And if I was those companies, I would stop for 2 reasons. One, I think the network's going to go sideways. Whereas it grows and grows and grows every single year, I think it's going to start going sideways. I think we're 5 difficulty level adjustments into that process already. There's one of those roughly every 2 weeks. So I think you're going to see much less growth in the network overall. So if there's less growth in the network and the price of Bitcoin goes up on a steady basis, and these companies with 50 exahash just stay where they are, then they can get from here to the next halving. And most importantly, they don't go buy a bunch of machines. Remember, the next halving is 3 years away. You buy a machine today, it's going to be obsolete when the next halving comes. So don't go run from 50 to 100 exahash, only to have to throw out all of your machines. Just wait for it. Buy the new machines that'll be much more energy efficient. We know that BitDR makes their own chips, and they're hoping to get down to 5 joules per terahash. To put this in perspective, 2.5 cycles ago, it was 100 joules per terahash. Then it was 50, then it was 30. Now it's been like, you better be at 20 or under. By the halving, people are going to be at 7 or 8 joules per terahash with their fleet. And so there's no reason to go buy a bunch of machines that don't match those standards, only to have to throw them out or sell them for pennies on the dollar. That's my opinion. So I think you're going to see a lot of companies go sideways on that side as they spend their time, effort, energy, and money building out the data center side of this, which has trillions and trillions of dollars earmarked to come into this sector. Will Mara and CleanSpark make new highs in 2026? I think they will make new local highs, so I'm not going back to the 2021 peaks. I don't think they'll get there, but I do think they'll take out their 2024 and 2025 highs in 2026. So those are healthy upsides. They're doubles or more. For Marathon, it's a triple. So that's my opinion. I think you're going to see, once Bitcoin starts doing what it's doing, and once you see everybody sees that, this data center stuff is real. The demand for these data centers is so far in excess of the supply that this is really the absolute ideal spot to be in. So those are my thoughts. That's what went on this week. We'll just check in and see. Bitcoin is hanging out at around $90,500. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the live stream. Special thanks to the members. Special thanks to everybody who gave a super chat. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. And as George said, go Bills, but more importantly, go Bitcoin. So have a great weekend, and we'll see the members on Tuesday. Thanks.